Right. Rule number one. Tell us about learning basic copywriting.
Okay, basic copywriting is essential for every writer now. And the difference between being a writer now and being a writer anywhere from a few years back and any time in history is that you're responsible for getting your own attention, your own traffic by and large. This is really true if you're an indie author, but even if you're not, publishers expect you to get your own audience and nurture your own audience. And basic copywriting helps you with everything from the product descriptions on your book to engaging with your audience to headlines. And headlines are really important because that's how you command attention. That's how you get a click. That's how you get people to pay attention. That's how you ask them to share. And
You're talking about blog headlines or social media headlines? What kind of headlines?
all headlines. And headlines are really important anyway because you can learn to headlines can help you with everything from chapter titles to now for us we don't really title our chapters. It's chapter 1, chapter 2, but if you're writing a book or a longer narrative and you want to title your chapters, learning how to write a headline is a great way to do that with your chapters. It's a great way to title your book. It's a great way to get attention. One of the marvelous things about copywriting is that it teaches you how to ask for what you need. And that's something that every writer can benefit from, whether that's wanting people to share what you wrote or leave a review or tell a friend or like it or tweet it or whatever it is you want somebody to do, even if it's just buy your book. Asking is key to making it happen. And a lot of writers, our natural instinct is to not ask and to assume that our reader knows what we want them to do, because that's what we do. I mean, for several years I did that. I just assumed there were two things going on. I assumed that the reader knew where I was coming from and therefore knew what I needed. And I don't like to ask people for anything. I don't. And that's me that's broken, but it's not the right
Broken man.
It's really not the right thing to do. You always want to tell your reader what you need them to do and give them a reason to do it and let them know why it's a good idea to do it. And all of that stuff, if you learn basic copy, it doesn't mean you have to write a sales letter that's going to convert 20% of readers to buyers. That's not the point. In fact, getting too deep into copywriting is probably a big mistake. But learning basic copywriting skills is, I would even go so far as to say it's essential to going that next tier as a writer. It doesn't mean that you won't make it, but I would say two equal writers with parallel ability, the writer with basic copywriting skills will always outperform the writer without them.
One of the things I've noticed when I'm looking at a nonfiction book on, say, Amazon, typically nonfiction books are a little more expensive. So I'm pretty judicious on what I buy with a nonfiction book. In like, say it's about like web design or something, I'm gonna look at the table of contents before I buy that book because I want to see what is in that book. I want to see how they divide the information in the book, whether it's worth $10, $20. And if you're a clever copywriter and you write a killer headline, you're going to get me curious to know what's in that book.
Right.
And I think a lot of people do that sort of sampling because you can get like on Amazon the 10% of the book. So you start that off and you have some killer headlines in there as your chapter titles, you're going to more likely have a sale.
Yeah, that's a great point because the difference between a copywriter and a writer, it's going to be evident just in the table of contents. That's a really good point because a copywriter is not going to. I mean, let's pick a niche. If it's how to build a wooden deck, okay, and you're researching, you want to know how to build a wooden deck, and
you're using a Johnny Truant reference.
Did he use this one?
He does wooden decks all the time. I think he's like secretly a wooden deck builder.
Well, crap, that must be where I got it. See, man, creativity's borrowed. Wear your influences on your sleeve. Apparently, I'm influenced by Johnny Truant. Awesome. Okay, so if you're building a wooden deck, I'm going to stick with this, and you write your chapter as a regular nonfiction writer, your chapter may be how to build a strong foundation. A copywriter is going to change that chapter to something like how how to build a foundation that won't crumble and destroy your house, right? Because there's a little bit of pain there, and
or they might say, the 5 worst things you can do that will destroy your house.
Yes, exactly. Because a copywriter knows that pain. We all want to avoid pain, so they're going to not only tell you what you want to. What did you say?
And yet I'm here.
Yeah. What to avoid and why to avoid it, that's really important. And they're going to pique your curiosity. And so that's why a copywriter is going to write more compelling copy, almost 100% of the time, almost accidentally. But there's another secret to basic copy that's really, really important. And that's that copywriting, elementally, it's about psychology. It's about human psychology. It's about what makes us all tick. And I don't know if there's a fiction writer alive who can't benefit from that. It's knowing why people think the way they think. I mean, because good copy is designed to drive you to action. It's supposed to make you get up out of your seat and either open your wallet or click or whatever it's designed. That particular piece of copy is designed to do. It's designed to do something specific, and it only is able to click into that action mechanism because it knows how you think or how you're feeling. And that's really helped me as a fiction writer, because when I was first writing fiction, it was about how pretty can I make the language sound, and that's not good fiction. Good fiction should have rhythm and it should have prose, but good fiction is really how are you making the reader feel right now, and are you driving them through the pages? And that's the kind of thing that basic copywriting will teach you. So ignore a lot of what you see online and get old school copywriting books, from like the 60s. Some of those principles are just fantastic.
Do you have any book title suggestions?
Yeah, some of it's a little dated, but I actually like it for that. There's one by Joe Sugarman called Adweek that I think is really great. I like how he describes starting your page, that you have to really push a reader down a slide, that your first sentence only exists to push a reader into the second and into the third and into the fourth, and that you get them going at such velocity that they can't stop. And I think that that's really great. Even if you're never going to write a sales letter again, Dan Kennedy's sales letter book I think is great because it teaches you about open loops and how to keep a reader on the page. I think that's great. Anything by David Ogilvy is awesome. The best one, if you could only read one book, absolutely, is Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. It's the influence. It's actually called Influence: The 7 Laws of Persuasion, and it's a fantastic book. It's ostensibly it was written as the anti-marketing book so that people who read it wouldn't be fooled by marketers ever again, but it's basically the marketer's handbook.
Those evil marketers got a hold of it.
Yeah. And it teaches you about the laws of influence and persuasion and social proof and all of that stuff. And it's great. Really, if I could recommend one book that every writer read to just understand basic copy, that would be it.
Okay.